Better Call Saul is a show that I love, and so the opportunity to talk about it like this just fills my heart with joy. So I'm gonna talk about the Something Stupid montage, the first scene of episode 7 of season 4 of Better Call Saul. The thing with Something Stupid is that the lyrics don't just describe a love story that contrasts with what we're shown on screen, but it also perfectly encapsulates Kim and Jimmy's relationship, making that contrast even more brutal as a viewer. The lyrics tell a story about someone on the verge of confessing their feelings because their attraction to the other is so goddamn strong, which is even more interesting due to the male and female vocals in the song mirroring Kim and Jimmy. I particularly think a few verses reflect their story perfectly, like,
then afterwards we drop into a quiet little place and have a drink or two. And then I go and spoil it all by saying something stupid like I love you.
These verses to me quite clearly seem to be about something like their conversation in the beginning of episode 201, Switch, where Jimmy's afraid that him getting a job at Davis and Maine could potentially impede his and Kim's relationship from developing. So you can see in this conversation,
does that mean that you and me, is this gonna happen?
How Jimmy's struggling to get the right words out, and how ashamed he looks once he does, as if he's just went and spoiled it all by saying something stupid like, I love you. Of course, he didn't literally say I love you, but one thing that's always been present in their relationship is the idea that Kim and Jimmy show affection to each other in their own ways, without saying explicitly that they care about each other. And so, when Jimmy finally verbalizes it, it comes as a shock to Kim, where you can see it in her eyes that she despises the same old lies she heard before.
I can see it in your eyes that you despise the same old lies you heard the night before. And though it's just a line to you, for me it's true and never seemed so right before.
As if Jimmy is doing the same thing he did before the show started, to just try to be with Kim without showing her any reason why they would, when clearly them being together would hurt the two of them. However, it may seem to her like it's the same thing he said before, but for Jimmy, it's true and never seemed so right before. He's never meant it like he does now, which is only because of his recent experience with the death of his friend called Marco, which made him reevaluate a lot of his life. I also love these verses.
I practice every day to find some clever lines to say to make the meaning come through. But then I think I'll wait until the evening gets late and I'm alone with you.
And I particularly like them because of what I just said about their relationship not being about explicitly showing affection towards each other, but rather we see how intimate and close they are, with very few words spoken, which you can tell even by their first scene where they're alone in the show, when they're just smoking at the AJ Jam parking lot. And so for Kim, who's someone who's always very measured in what she says and rarely lets her feelings out, instead of trying to find the words to show that affection towards Jimmy, she'd rather wait until they get their intimate moments to show how much she cares about him. On the other side of the coin, Jimmy's someone who always practices his words, as if he's a salesman trying to use his explanations and hand gestures to sell you on what he's thinking. But with Kim, he doesn't need that, not when they're being honest with each other. So he doesn't try to do that with her when it's about his love for her, except for when they break up in season 6. So he also just allows their moments of intimacy to come naturally and quietly. Also because Jimmy's extremely insecure, so he measures his words with her very carefully and tries to show affection to her without ever verbally touching on their relationship. So the lyrics also fit him. And so the show using a song that so perfectly showcases their relationship to show them growing apart is heartbreaking and great storytelling, as we understand why they're growing apart, because without their schemes, with their lives now out of sync, as Jimmy keeps selling the cell phones to make money, and Kim keeps helping Mesa Verde expand, barely able to brush their teeth together like they used to, as the montage shows, it gets harder for them to show affection towards the other and have the moments that made them bond so much in their relationship. So we still have these signs that they want to show some intimacy towards the other, but ultimately it feels futile, especially because Jimmy's extremely insecure, so he would never put himself out there to Kim in a way to show he's still invested in their relationship, especially as he's clearly been hiding his real feelings over the death of his brother, which upsets Kim, and she feels like Jimmy is shutting her out, and she wants to let him wrestle with those feelings on his own because of it. And finally, the reason why I find the use of this song to be especially masterful is because, beyond the fact that it was used again in season 5, to showcase Kim and Jimmy's passion and love for each other, this time without contrasting it with their relationship, but by us seeing Jimmy almost die in the desert only to make it back to her, and her being extremely apprehensive about whether or not Jimmy would make it back, after she exposed herself to Lalo just to try to get some answers about Jimmy. But beyond all that, I love how the line that everyone loves aside from the song comes back in play in season 6, when Kim breaks up with Jimmy. As Kim explains that she's leaving Jimmy and she quit the law because they're toxic together, so they end up hurting themselves and others regardless of how they feel about each other. Jimmy pleads to her that she doesn't leave him, as he runs out of ways to argue against what she's saying, and then he finally says,
I love you. I love you too. But so what?
which is the one and only time they've ever said I love you in the entire show, just before they break up, so we can tie this all the way back to the song.
And then I go and spoil it all by saying something stupid like I love you.